Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you the basics of Excel, how to navigate through the different menus, how to get to a specific cell, how the cells are labeled. So here I have a blank Excel workbook open. I am on sheet 1 of this workbook. You can add sheets, or there could be multiple sheets in the Excel document that you're already working on. When you are looking at Excel and an Excel spreadsheet, you see a table. And all of the cells of this table have specific names. So right now, cell A1 is highlighted. Now cell G9 is highlighted. The way that we label cells is column letters. So we have A through Z, and then it will go on to A, B, A, B, and then B, A, B, B. So you'll have many columns that are labeled with a letter or multiple letters, in this case G. And then you have rows, and rows are numbered 1 through however many rows. Now there is a limit to the number of rows that you can have in an Excel document, but it's a very large limit, and so you would be scrolling for quite a while if you wanted to get to the bottom end limit of your page. But this is cell G9, and you can see that it's labeled right here in the top left corner. If I wanted to skip to a cell like N1000, I could type in N1000 and it will bring me to that cell. If I want to get back to the top, I can type in A1 and it will bring me back to the first cell. So those are the cells. Now, when you have a cell highlighted, you can just start typing and put something in that cell. So I can put in name, and then I can start a list of names. And that's all well and good. And then I can do stuff like sort those names in alphabetical order. Now, because I have name highlighted as well, what's going to happen is it's going to sort that. So I'm just going to highlight. And how I highlight cells in Excel is I click, but I don't let go of the click, and then I drag the mouse down. And that will highlight more than one cell. Be careful not to highlight a cell and then drag from the corner, because dragging from the corner is a feature called auto fill. And you see what happens is it copies the previous cell down as I copy, and I can continue to copy that name forever, but that's not what I want. What I want is to highlight all of these cells. So I'm going to click and hold and then drag the mouse down. Then I can come over here to this sort and filter menu, and I can sort A to Z. And now these are sorted alphabetically. Or I can do from Z to A, and it's sorted reverse alphabetically. You can also type things like numbers into cells. And so I could type in 10, 15. Notice how numbers automatically get justified to the right in the cell. So I have numbers in these cells, and these numbers are just typed in. I can also sort these numbers, but they're already sorted from smallest to biggest. The other feature that I want to talk to you about is when you have a bunch of numbers, sometimes it's nice to be able to visualize that data set, not just by looking at the numbers, but by calculating specific things about those numbers, like measures of center, measures of spread. things like average, okay? So there are built-in formulas that you can use in Excel, and you can create your own formulas. So for example, if I want to create a formula, I click on the cell that I want to put the formula in, and then I hit the equal sign. The equal sign tells Excel that it should be anticipating a formula that it wants to calculate. So for example, I could do 10 plus 15 plus 23 plus 25 plus 31 plus 42. And that's the sum of all of these cells. Now the great thing, instead of typing in 146, the great thing about this is if I change one of these values, since this formula is drawing from those cells, this value will also update in real time. So let's say I accidentally typed in 10 when I really meant 12. Notice how this sum goes from 146 to 148. I'll show you again. It was at 146. I changed this to 12. This went up to 148. So I created my own formula to do that, but there are built-in formulas like sum that will do this for me. So I type in sum and open the parentheses, or as I'm typing, I can double click on the suggested function, and then I can just click and drag the cells that I want to sum up, and it will sum up those cells for me. There are many functions that you can use, and so I would definitely want to label this. So this is a sum. If I wanted to find something like the average, I can type in something called the average function. So average, same data here. And if you know there's nothing else in a column with data, you can just click on the whole column letter. Notice it's C:C. That gives me the whole column, and it's going to calculate that average. It ignores that there's text here and just finds the numbers and averages them together. I can confirm that this average is correct by doing a couple other calculations. So if I just wanted to know how many numbers are in this data set, I can use a function called count. And again, if I count all the things that are in column C, it's going to return 6. Notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. It ignored age because age is not a number, so it didn't count it. And it's also ignoring all the blank cells. Now, if I put a 0 in a cell, notice that these change. The sum did not change because I did not include that cell in my sum. But even if I had, the sum will not change because 0 does not add to the sum. But notice how these changed when I added 0 in. But we want to keep this blank, okay? And if I know the sum and I know the number of numbers, then I can take that sum and divide it by the number of numbers, and that will give me the average. So I created my own formula to find the average, or you can use the built-in. Notice that when I add things, so I'm going to change this formula so that it's the entire column. Now when I add other ages in there, these are all updating in real time. That's the benefit of using formulas over typing numbers into the cells. We don't want to type numbers into the cells if we don't have to. So that's the basics of what is on the spreadsheet and what you can put into the spreadsheet. We can also create graphs using the original data. And that's going to be under a totally different menu. So in this home menu, this up here is called the ribbon. In the home ribbon, what we see are things that we're used to in our word processing apps, like font, size of font, bold, italic, underline. We can put borders around our data if we wanted to. So now there's a black border around this. We can fill cells with color. We can change the color of text. Okay, these are all options. We can also align. If we don't like that it's justified to the right, we can change it to the middle or the left. Or we can move its position within the cell if the cell is tall enough to see that difference. Okay, so there's a lot of things that we can do. We can specify that we're dealing with numbers here. And we can also specify how many decimal places are displayed when we're given that number. So this number is to 2 decimal places. If I change the format, I can say I want 0 decimal places or 1 decimal place, and it will round automatically for us. Okay. Now, if I'm in general and I want decimal places, I can add them by clicking here or here. I also have quick access to things like making this money instead, or changing it into a percent, or we can use a comma style with our numbers. But I'm going to change this back to general because these are ages. Okay. So in the next menu is the insert menu, and you can see there's a whole bunch of charts here. So I can go ahead and create a visual representation of these ages using a bar chart, but a more appropriate chart for this type of data would be a histogram. And so we can select a histogram. Don't love these options, so I can go ahead and change the number of bins. And so I can make it so that the number of bins is larger, and it gives me a little bit better picture here. So I like that. It's a nice graph. You can also do things like add axis titles to my graph. So this is age. Nope, this is not age. This is number of people. This one's age. And I can edit the chart title as well. Okay. I hope this was helpful.